Hello, my name is Carly Rossler, and today I will be talking about my research project that focuses on energy efficiency in a low-income housing facility. Throughout my presentation, I will be discussing my research questions, the methods I used to conduct my research, and the findings and results of my research. The purpose of my abstract is to highlight why I chose to research energy efficiency in a low-income housing facility. Currently across the United States, low-income individuals face housing shortages in every state and metropolitan area. Affordable housing is scarce, and approximately 7 million housing units are needed in order to prevent low-income individuals and families from becoming homeless. In the state of California, there are over 1 million renters that have incomes at or below the poverty level. However, there are only 23 affordable and available rental homes per 100 low-income individuals. It is also known that public service facilities are most commonly low-budget projects that do not allow the residents' needs to be taken into consideration. Due to this rising issue, I have conducted several different methods of research to determine what design and energy-efficient techniques can be applied within a low-income housing facility in order to meet residents' needs and lower the cost of low-income housing in California. The purpose of my introduction is to illustrate the struggles that low-income individuals and families face throughout their day-to-day lives. Housing is a very important factor when it comes to the needs of humans. It helps protect against diseases, injuries, and poisonings. When there is a lack of affordable housing, it causes an increase of stress for low-income individuals and children. It also increases the risks of children developing medical conditions and being exposed to sexual assault and violence. No state in the United States offers a minimum wage that can support a family living in a low-income, two-bedroom apartment with one full-time worker. Since the minimum wage throughout the United States does not support the lives of low-income people and is unlikely to be raised, creating a facility that reduces housing costs would be ideal. Throughout my investigation, I will be exploring how to maximize energy efficiency throughout a low-income housing facility in order to reduce maintenance and operation costs, allowing rent prices to be reduced. The research questions for my project explore what green systems, sustainable, and energy-efficient design techniques would be most beneficial in reducing the operation costs for a low-income housing facility. Then, out of the design techniques found, I will determine which are the most cost-effective and environmentally friendly for this project. Lastly, I will explore how the design theories like interior ecosystem model, change theory, and sense of place theory can be applied to the design of this project in order to better meet the residents' needs. In order to answer my research questions, I performed a cross-disciplinary literature review from databases accessed throughout the Texas Tech libraries. 8 literature articles were gathered and then systematically analyzed in order to determine which design methods were most efficient and what amenities were needed in order to meet the needs of low-income individuals and families. I then conducted an over-the-phone interview with a low-income property owner, resident, and service worker to determine what design techniques need to be taken into consideration when developing the design of this facility in order to better their experiences. Lastly, I conducted a precedent study of the 96 West low-income housing facility located in Lubbock, a building and site analysis for the building and site selected for this facility, and a code summary. The purpose of the precedent study was to determine what works well and what doesn't work at all in low-income housing. And then the building and site analysis, as well as the code summary, was conducted to determine the pre-existing building conditions and codes that need to be taken into consideration when developing the design of a low-income housing facility. The conceptual framework is broken down into 4 main categories. First, I will discuss the design theories, and then I will discuss the design considerations. The design considerations are separated into 3 categories. The facility development design considerations focus on the needs and requirements for the physical design of the facility in order to maximize the energy efficiency and sustainability. The lifestyle of residents design considerations focus on what needs to be incorporated in the design of the facility in order to meet the residents' needs. And then lastly, the facility upkeep design considerations will discuss the maintenance that must be performed in order to keep the facility operating at maximum efficiency. These categories should all overlap, allowing the types of spaces that are needed for the facility to be determined. There are three design theories that I have chosen to apply to the design of my low-income housing facility. The first is the interior ecosystem model. This model illustrates that the human organism is connected and centered within the natural, designed, and social environment. This means that the human can affect the environments, but these environments also have an impact on the human. This highlights the importance of developing a facility that meets the needs of low-income individuals and families. Then next, we have the change theory, which discusses how various factors like the economy and technology affect consumer preferences. It is important to take this into consideration when developing the low-income housing facility in order to ensure that it does not become dated and out of style. And then lastly, we have the sense of place theory, which discusses how when a person feels safe and can associate with a space, they become more comfortable. This personal identification is important because I would like to develop a facility that residents are proud to call their home and they actually enjoy living in. Now we dive into the facility development design considerations. These design considerations will address the general problems and needs that will need to be taken into consideration when designing a low-income housing facility, as well as the problems and needs of most developers and architects. When developing a low-income housing facility, developers and architects are most concerned with initial and ongoing costs. In order to develop the facility in a cost-effective manner, it would be beneficial to implement net zero and carbon neutral building techniques within the design of the facility. Installing building management systems, Energy Star windows, low water usage toilets, and light switches with built-in timers would also increase the cost effectiveness of the facility. Reducing the number of wet walls by locating appliances that require water on one wall and selecting materials that can easily be spot treated like carpet tiles would also help reduce ongoing costs. When addressing the general needs of the facility, it is clear that the design of the facility must meet the needs of the residents while maintaining sustainability and the ability to adapt to future trends without becoming dated. In order to meet the needs of residents, the facility should be located in a well-developed urban area that provides residents with plenty of job opportunities. It must also be within close proximity to social and childcare services, as well as direct access to public transportation services. In order to prevent the facility from becoming out of style or dated, the design of the facility should feature neutral colors throughout furniture and finishings with classic accent colors like navy. Trendy designs can be incorporated through easy-to-replace items like artwork. The next slide will help further the applications of these design considerations through images. The images on the left side of the slide are gathered from the site analysis. This visual demonstration shows where the facility will be located and its surrounding views. The facility will be located near public schools and sports fields to support the needs of residents. The images on the right are gathered from the FF&E of the facility. The fixtures and equipment like Energy Star windows, low water usage toilets, and motion-sensored light switches will help maintain the efficiency of the facility. Finishes like carpet tiles and LVT flooring will help maintain the ongoing costs of the facility because they are easy to be replaced and they can be spot treated. Next, I will discuss the facility development design considerations regarding the residents' needs based off of previous living experiences. Spatial signification provides residents with a connection to their living environment. Installing adequate universal signage and implementing wayfinding techniques will help residents be able to navigate the facility confidently. Installing built-in shelving and storage in housing units will provide residents with a place to store their belongings, creating a connection between the living environment and residents. Residents will need a mailing address and other traditional features of a home in order to obtain human capital. By providing amenities like a mailroom, computer room, and trash room, and a private landline, the facility will be able to meet the needs of residents. It is also important for residents to be able to open their windows more than 4 inches to naturally cool off their housing unit. By installing Energy Star windows with aesthetically pleasing screens on the exterior of the facility, residents will be able to safely open their windows all the way, reducing the likelihood of damages throughout the facility and thus reducing ongoing costs. These images help further the design considerations of the facility. The images on the left illustrate examples of built-in storage and shelving, wayfinding techniques, and the mailroom and trash room. These techniques will help promote balanced connection between the residents and their living environment. The images on the left validate the design considerations by demonstrating products like universal signage and window screens in order to support the efficiency of the facility and the residents' needs. Next, we will jump into the design considerations that need to be applied based off of the lifestyle of residents. The facility will need to be located in a well-developed urban area in order to reduce the challenges low-income families face, like fewer lower-wage jobs, longer distances to services and jobs, and less access to transportation, all of which is supported by the site analysis featured on the previous slide 8. The government standard of affordability states that affordable housing is spending no more than 30% of the residents' gross income on housing. In order to ensure residents are financially stable, they will be required to have meetings with the facility's employees to determine what government assistance they need and to ensure that they are getting all the help that they need. When determining where low-income individuals and families will live, they are primarily concerned with the safety, community, cost, amenities, quality of the physical space, and quality of management of a facility. The facility will address these needs by installing controlled access doors, implementing pet and smoking rules, and including common areas that promote interaction. Lastly, the home environment is important to the development of children and their mental health. In order to create a facility that positively impacts the lives of the residents' children, the facility will incorporate children's play areas to provide children with a space of their own. These images provide a visual demonstration of the design considerations that will be implied throughout the design of the low-income housing facility. The first image illustrates the controlled access doors that will be implemented throughout the facility as well as within each individual housing unit. The open concept lounge area and fitness room will provide residents with the space to mingle with others. The children's toy storage will be implemented within each housing unit to aid in supporting a balanced environment for children. Lastly, in order for the facility to operate at maximum efficiency, it is vital that employees, maintenance workers, as well as residents are informed on how the building systems operate throughout the facility. By providing informational packets and hosting community meetings to discuss the upkeep of these systems, residents and employees will be able to help ensure that the facility is running efficiently. The purpose of the assessment of spaces is to reveal the spaces needed for a low-income housing facility, as well as their layout, size, and quantity. This will be done by applying regulations developed by government agencies and the demographics of low-income families to the information gathered throughout the conceptual framework. These three categories should overlap, allowing the floor plan of the facility to be determined. The spaces needed for the first level of a low-income housing facility include a lobby and waiting area for residents and potential residents, management offices for the facility's employees, a utility closet for maintenance workers, a recreational lounge room and fitness center for social interaction, a mailroom and trash closet, as well as a children's play area and housing units. The diagram located on the right visually displays the relationships between the spaces, grouping public spaces together and within close proximity to the employees, and locating housing units away from public areas to promote privacy. The spaces needed for the second through fourth levels of the low-income housing facility include a lounge area for social interaction, a trash room, and housing units. The diagram located on the right visually displays the relationships between the spaces. The housing units are the primary amenity for these levels, while the lounge area and trash closet are supporting spaces that do not require as much space. Based on the International Building Code, the following policies can be determined for the first level of the facility. Due to the function of the management offices, an additional women's and men's restroom with 4 water closets and 3 lavatories each will need to be added to the spaces needed within the facility. Based on the International Building Code, the following policies can be determined for levels 2 through 4 of the facility. Due to the California Housing Code, each housing unit will be required to contain a certain amount of square footage, and these requirements will need to be taken into consideration with the International Building Code policies. One-bedroom housing units must contain a minimum of 595 square feet and can house a maximum of 2 occupants. Two-bedroom housing units must contain a minimum of 885 square feet and can house a maximum of 4 occupants. Three-bedroom housing units must contain a minimum of 1,175 square feet and can house a maximum of 6 occupants. And lastly, four-bedroom housing units must contain a minimum of 1,465 square feet and can house a maximum of 8 occupants. The low-income family demographics is provided by the U.S. Census Bureau and helps determine the quantity and types of housing units that will most likely be beneficial to a low-income housing facility. From this information, it can be determined that four-bedroom housing units would be the most beneficial unit type, followed by three-bedroom housing units and then two-bedroom housing units. One-bedroom housing units would most likely be the least beneficial due to the demographics of low-income families. Based off of the conceptual framework and assessment of spaces, the following blocking floor plan can be determined for the low-income housing facility. Business areas like the management offices and lobby area are located near the front of the facility for convenience. The children's play area is located in between the public areas, allowing residents to be able to keep an eye on their children while interacting with other residents. The restrooms are also centralized, allowing them to be used by both employees and residents who are utilizing the social spaces. Housing units are located near the back of the facility and next to the trash room to provide easy access while maintaining privacy. The levels 2 through 4 blocking diagram is to be repeated for levels 2, 3, and 4 of the facility. 4, 3, and 2-bedroom housing units are the primary housing unit types to support the previous findings. A lounge area provides residents with a centralized space for social interaction. The trash room is located next to the elevator and allows residents to conveniently throw away their trash while they are on their way out of the facility. Stacking this floor plan will allow the wet walls to be stacked, thus reducing project costs. Lastly, I have the references that I have gathered throughout my research. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation.